Hey everyone, Tech OG here, representing those who are 40 and up who love their tech. And I know it's about time that I've released another video. I waited to release another video because, getting new tech or up-to-date tech, quote-unquote up-to-date tech or whatnot, I don't get it as frequently as those who've been on YouTube for a while and get a lot of swag from companies or whatnot who send them prototypes or testers or whatnot. I gotta rely on my good old bank from my pocket to get technology that I can review. This is gonna be, I can't even say an unboxing because it's not even in a box. So I'll say this is gonna be an unbagging of something that I've been waiting for about 2 weeks. And this is gonna be an unboxing of the Chinese smartwatch, the Finow Q1 Pro. Now, before I unbag it, show you what it looks like or whatnot, let me tell you why I went the route of getting a Chinese smartwatch. Now, we don't have a whole lot of companies that make smartwatches or whatnot. I mean, top two companies are Samsung and Apple. Pebble, was a good company that gave Apple and Samsung a good run for the money, but Fitbit bought Pebble, and I haven't really looked at the smartwatches that Fitbit has released that use Pebble's technology. I'm not really a fan of Fitbit stuff, so don't even know what is out there from Fitbit that uses Pebble's technology. But I really did like Pebble as a company. I did invest in their first smartwatch through Kickstarter and everything. Thought it was a fantastic watch. The battery life, of course, was fantastic because it used e-ink, so great and everything. Didn't have a whole lot of apps or whatnot, but it was just used to quickly glance at notifications or whatnot that you would normally get on your phone, on your wrist, so you didn't have to pull out your phone out of your pocket or whatnot. So I've had a number of different smartwatches, and I've had before, like I told you before, iPhones, and so I've had the Apple Watch, the Series 1, and didn't really use it extensively. That was mainly focused on fitness data, gathering fitness data. It was very dependent on the iPhone, so it had to be near your iPhone, so when you receive the notification on your phone, you would get it on the watch. And Samsung basically, was the same way with their watches, where the watch was dependent on the phone. However, in my personal opinion, Samsung's first attempt at the smartwatch, the Gear, so you see, we call this a Galaxy Gear. This, in my opinion, was their best smartwatch because, for one, it had a fantastic screen. It had a camera on it, or it has a camera on it. Speaker on the bottom, fantastic speaker too. Non-removable bands. Big old heavy charger. But the best thing about this watch was that it ran an actual Android iOS. So if you knew how to side load apps on here, and you could learn easily from watching YouTube, but alongside that, someone discovered how to root this sucker. So here you are with basically an Android phone, quote unquote. Well, you couldn't put a SIM card in here, but basically you had features of a Samsung phone rooted on your wrist. So you could play Candy Crush on here, you have root capabilities on here. So you had expose and other things on here. Pretty cool watch. And this right here is rooted, and that's why I still have it, because it's still, in my opinion, a fantastic watch, you know, for Samsung's first start. And of course, as soon as Samsung saw that it could be rooted, they're like, forget that, we're gonna be like Apple and run our own iOS on here. And ever since the Gear 2 and on, they've been running their own iOS called Tizen, which, you know, does wonders on battery life on the watch, but you couldn't do a whole lot using the watch, you know, as a quote-unquote standalone watch. So Samsung, I don't like it too much anymore, even though the S3 Frontier, which is this right here, and this is the LTE version. I have T-Mobile. This is a fantastic watch, you know what I'm saying? You know, with the rotating bezel. Get it upside down, so that you can see information and set up. Yeah, I didn't use a watch all day, so yeah, 16 steps, that's not accurate. I didn't use a watch. But so like I said, you can rotate the bezel and have all kinds of information through apps or whatnot, as far as weather, barometer, controlling your music. That's pretty cool right there. Fantastic screen. Even though it's LTE, so you can put a phone number on here, so you can use this as a standalone phone, you know what I'm saying, to send and receive calls. And you can send and receive text on here as well, because it uses own SIM or eSIM, electronic SIM. But still, because it ran on Tizen, it still only had a small amount of apps that can be run on here standalone. So it wasn't necessarily a watch that can run on its own OS or operating system. So you just basically use it as a watch for notifications or whatnot, you know what I'm saying, for it to have LTE or have data capabilities. You know, you can check your weather, you can check text, but you couldn't check your actual phone's text because it had to be paired with your phone so that the notifications can be pushed to the watch. So, in my opinion, it's kind of like being a semi-standalone watch. So, me personally, I mean, I like the watch, but like I said, I personally want a watch that can just run on its own. So, like I said, having these fantastic and fine, and I've actually used these when I had an iPhone. I've actually paired this and this with an iPhone, but of course, pairing these with an iPhone, you will only get limited capabilities or the limited functionality of the watch using it on a phone that was not a Samsung phone. So of course, if you want a full functionality of these watches, you had to pair this with a Samsung phone. So I am now back to using my S9. At one point during the summer, I was using an iPhone 6 that was jailbroken, but an untethered jailbroken iPhone. So I was using that because I just wanted to get back to iPhone, and the iPhone, you know, allowed me to do things, the jailbroken iPhone allowed me to do things that this phone couldn't not allow me to do, and that's mainly in my music realm. So using it as a MIDI controlling device or sound controlling device, you can't really do that with a Samsung phone. So I was using it a lot in the summer, you know, playing in my band and stuff. So I'm back to using this because using an iPhone 6, because you know that Apple does throttle older iPhones if you don't update to the newest iOS. So using it was very slow. So I went back to using my S9. I'm not getting the Note 9 or anything like that. So I'm not going to make a video on me talking about the Note 9. I'm not getting it. I'm just going to stick with this. So basically, like I said, this runs a whole lot faster, whatnot, and I'm using Nova Launcher, blah, blah, blah. But I'm not really here using this video to talk about what I'm using. I'm just here to talk about the smartwatch that I got. So, why did I go with a Chinese smartwatch? Well, basically, in China, they pretty much make a smartwatch every week and just brand it a different name. Or basically, they make one smartwatch and put so many different names on it, but it's basically the same watch. It's just uncanny as to how many are out there in trying to find the perfect watch for you, because there's too many. And I mean too many. If you don't believe me, look at this dude called that has a channel called Smartwatch Ticks. He pretty much gets new inventory every couple of days. So it's so much. He doesn't really, I mean, he does do extensive videos on the quote unquote usage of the watch, but it's not a whole lot of information. It's basically the same stuff that pretty much every watch from China can do. So it really doesn't show you what it actually can do for you in your daily personal life. They're Chinese smartwatches, so they're not made for US phones or anything like that. You got to download an app in order, a Chinese smartwatch app, and they're pretty flimsy. They're not the best app as far as using it on your phone to pair the watch to your phone to get push notifications. It's pretty confusing to do all that. So why did I go with a Chinese smartwatch, even though it's not really meant to be used that much on US phones? I'll tell you why. When it comes to me looking for a smartwatch, I try to look for one that can do what I want it to do all in one device. Like I said, it's basically looking for, in my opinion, the perfect watch, the perfect phone, the perfect computer, so that I'm not always looking at the next computer to get new features or whatever. I want to try to get something that's going to basically do everything that I basically do with tech on my devices. So when it comes to a smartwatch, I kind of made a list here on what I want in a smartwatch. So basically, I want a watch that's completely standalone, and I mean it can run on its own, doesn't need a phone in order to run. So basically, it has to have its own OS, or well, not really its own OS like Tizen or Apple Watch OS, but basically a phone OS. So if the Apple Watch, for example, ran iOS on it standalone, that would be a great watch. And in this opinion, for this watch here running Android, this would have been a great watch if you can have a SIM on here. It would have been a fantastic watch, but it was close. So I need a watch that has its own OS, like a phone OS, where it can also receive calls and texts. Yeah, it's a little screen or whatnot, but hopefully, I would want to be able to, send texts or whatnot from my watch if I didn't have my phone with me. Of course, I wanted to play and stream music. I mean, watches have speakers or whatnot, and for the most part, it has apps that can control music, but I want my watch to play and stream music. So if I'm at the gym, and don't want to carry my phone, I want to do everything from the watch. And yes, the Apple Watch does have a small cache in the RAM where you can store music on there. And I believe Samsung watches does the same thing, but no, I just wanted to be able to, do all that just from the watch. Of course, I wanted to have Bluetooth to pair headphones. I want an ample amount of RAM and ROM on the watch. So as far as RAM, A lot of watches run at 768 RAM because it doesn't need a whole lot of power or processing power because it's such a small device. A lot of your Chinese smartwatches run either at 1 gigabyte RAM or some of them 2 gigabyte RAM. Even though they advertise and they did put 2 gigabytes of RAM in there, it's not necessarily needed. And when you do see tests on Chinese smartwatches, even the ones that have 2 gigabytes RAM run just as slow as ones with 1 gigabyte RAM. This one has 1 gigabyte RAM. I do need a decent battery size. You want your watch to last at least, because you don't do a whole lot on there. But in my case, since I want a standalone OS and whatnot, and I want it to at least last for a day. So you want a decent battery size, and for me personally, I want an SD card slot in my watch. Why? Oh, and I want a camera on my watch too. Why? Because, like I said, you want the same capability. I want, personally, the same capabilities of my phone in the watch. So if I wanted to record a video, I can record it. And if I had ample space to record, I can record hours and hours of video just from my watch. That's what I want. Plus, I want to, store music on my SD card, store games or whatnot. So I want, a good amount of space on my watch. And for, me personally, having its own iOS or having an OS or operating system on my watch, in particular Android operating system, I would want it to be rooted. Because if it does have bloatware or whatnot, I want to be able to take all the apps that I don't use off the watch and put on what I want on the watch. Plus, if you have it rooted, you can take apps that you would store on the watch, and because a watch would have a small amount of RAM, you would, if it's rooted, be able to transfer your app to your SD card. How cool is that? Now, there was one watch that I was able to do that with. I think that was ZG Pax S8, and that was a Chinese smartwatch. And I was, I believe I was able to transfer apps from the RAM of the watch onto the SD card, and that made it pretty cool. So, like I said, that's my dream watch, of having all of that stuff just on the watch. So basically, having a phone on your wrist. And basically, this watch right here, after looking at, the few videos that are out on YouTube about this watch, I did watch some foreign videos. Didn't understand what they were saying, but did see the capabilities of this watch. This right here is basically the closest thing that I can get, as far as the list that I just read off to you, on a watch. So I finally got it. It took about, not about 2 weeks, but 2 weeks and maybe a couple of days for me to get it. I finally got it today. Tracking this sucker was pretty difficult. So I'm just glad I got it. I did purchase this from Banggood, which is a site that you can order Chinese artifacts and whatnot, or Chinese tech. So pretty good company. When I did order it, they did ship it the next day, or it got processed and shipped the next day. So it was within 24 hours. So without further ado, here is the unbagging of the Finow Q1 Pro. In my extensive review on the watch, I'll give you the specs of the watch. But right now, I just want to unbag it and show you how it looks. So there's nothing really too extravagant about Chinese smartwatches. For the most part, you should know about a lot of Chinese tech stuff. They're cheap to make, really cheap. So that's why you're always going to see a new release on a smart watch or whatever every 2 days, 3 days, or it being rebranded or whatever. I mean, they're not the best, but like I said, after me looking at some videos, this is my best shot at getting the watch that I want. Even though Samsung has, introduced the Galaxy Watch to the world, which looks just like the S3 Frontier, has some quote-unquote new features, but nothing extravagant. Apple, they're going to be releasing the Apple Watch Series 4, which will still have LTE capabilities, but not a whole lot of features that I would want in a watch. So spending all that money on a watch that is still kind of limited, not my cup of tea. This right here cost me $75.99, and that includes shipping. And put a little finger grease in here, open it up, and this is how this bad boy looks. Now, what's cool about this watch, you see that little dot right there? That's a camera. Front-facing camera. What? Why is that cool for me? Video conferencing, video calls right from my wrist. So I can use WhatsApp, I can use Facebook, I can use Android apps that allow you to video call from my watch. Now that's what's up. I do know that this has 1 gigabyte of RAM and 1 gigabyte of RAM and 8 gigabyte of ROM. ROM meaning the space that's on the watch. Now because this is running Android 6.0. So what's that? That's not Lollipop. Lollipop was 4. Can't remember 6. But anyway, who cares? Because it's running a full Android operating system, that's taking up a lot of the RAM or a lot of the space on the watch. So you're not gonna have a whole lot of space to put your own apps. So like I said, when I do my extensive review on the watch, I'll show you how much space that's on here, whatnot. It's not gonna have a lot of space on here to put a lot of apps, but you don't necessarily want to put a lot of apps that you would have on your phone and your watch anyway. You just want to put on apps that would run well on a small screen such as this. And like I said, because it has the ability to video conference call or do video calls or whatnot, because it has a front-facing camera, that's going to be epic. And removable bands on here, and you can put in a SIM card. So that's what's going to be kind of cool. Here's the charging cord for it. Charging cord is kind of weird. Chinese do a lot of weird stuff. This one is the first one that has they call this an alligator clasp. So you just put it on the back. It's magnetic. So these, latch to the back. Right here. It's pretty secure. That's pretty cool. Where it won't fall off. So if it's charging, a lot of these magnetic chargers on the Chinese smartwatches, they can fall off very easily. So therefore, you might not get charging on your watch. So for this to have an alligator clasp, makes this pretty secure when it comes to charging the watch or phone watch. So like I said, I am so happy I got this watch. This is the closest thing that I can get right now to my list of demands for a smartwatch. The one thing that it doesn't have is a SD card slot. But other than that, it has a lot of the features that I do want. So I'm going to, start playing with this, start putting some apps on here, and I will do, like I said, a thorough review of this watch and the capabilities of this watch in a future video that I will probably do tonight or tomorrow, and to let you know exactly what this watch can do and why I chose it over the Gear, even though this is a fantastic watch with a little camera bump, looks like a pimple, and chose it over the S3 Frontier, which is a fantastic watch, removable bands or whatnot. This just has a lot more functionality than both of those watches put together. This is basically both of those watches put together and then some. So stay tuned for the extensive, and I mean extensive, review of the Finow Q1 Pro. I'm going to have the only thorough review that shows you the complete capabilities of this watch and how I'm going to be using it in my everyday activities. So stay tuned for the video. I hope you liked this video. Leave a thumbs up if you did like it. Leave comments if you need to leave comments. Ask questions if you want to ask questions. Don't ask too many right now because I don't know too much about the watch yet. I just know that it's pretty cool. I'm glad I got it. So leave a thumbs up. Leave comments if you need to. Tell your friends about my video. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so already. And I hope to see you in my next video.